Hello everyone, my name is Taylor Cello, and today I will be presenting on how the integration of ePortfolio usage into the undergraduate experience as a high-impact pedagogical practice can drive curricular cohesion across an academic program. And more specifically, this presentation focuses on the first phase of this curriculum transformation, which begins with our first-year seminar experience for students. So this course redesign plan originated from not only my previous experience using the ePortfolio through my high school and undergrad experience, but also my role as both an undergrad academic advisor and first-year seminar instructor at a College of Engineering of a private research university in Boston. So throughout my time of helping incoming students integrate into the College of Engineering and helping my advisees to make timely path to graduation, a problem of practice that I came across is that undergraduate engineering students at a private research university in Boston lack opportunities to make cross-curricular connections among their core courses. So this is where my doctoral research as well as this course redesign plan comes into play. Intended audiences for this course redesign plan include members of the Dean's Office, so the Dean himself, the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education, the Assistant Dean of Undergraduate Academic Affairs, who actually works in our office, and the Assistant Dean of Co-op. Other stakeholders include department chairs and the instructors for those core courses in the mainstream curriculum for students in our college, as well as undergrad academic advisors and first-year instructors like myself, and lastly, undergraduate co-op coordinators. So it's really important that we understand the big picture of where this course redesign plan comes into play. So the ePortfolio, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a highly structured, completely individualized, and student-centered e-learning tool in high-impact pedagogical practice recognized by the American Association of Colleges and Universities. While Northeastern has ePortfolio software that's used by selected grad programs like our own, it's an underutilized tool within the undergraduate space. So as someone who's personally seen its transformative power to put undergrad students in the driver's seat of their learning, in addition to recent scholarship like Alfonso and Tarchuna from our course in 2017, where they note the cultural shift of higher ed going from that more traditional transactional paradigm to a more transformational learner-centered paradigm, tools like the ePortfolio can enable students to discover and construct knowledge for themselves. So this graphic kind of shows where the ePortfolio usage comes into play within the grand scheme of the core curriculum experiences of engineering students at our institution. They do the GE 1000 first year seminar. They move forward and do some more foundational coursework for an engineering, foundational skill work in their Cornerstone 1 and 2 courses. They get introduced to the co-op experience through the ENCP 2000 seminar. And then they, in hopes of applying that learning from their co-op experiences, to the post-grad life, that's where their professional issues class comes in towards the end of their time. And then they do their senior capstone projects where they kind of take stock of their engineering skills and put it into practice in the form of a team building type of project. So while each of these curricular experiences are critical for providing students with foundational skills to be successful as future engineers, they are static and siloed, and students often think of them as, let me just check this off of my degree audit, right? So with continuous ePortfolio usage, as depicted by that gray arrow graphic in the back, it can drive cross-curricular connections for the students and encourage ownership of their learning. So while this big picture is critical to understand the context of this course redesign plan, we're going to focus our attention today on where this will all begin, which is the redesigned first-year seminar that I teach. So what I use in terms of a curriculum design model is TABA's 7-step process model. It begins by diagnosing the learner's needs, so again, making that really student-centered. We took data from not just our own GE 1000 course evaluation surveys, but also the university's new vision and new initiative of streamlining information across all first-year student experiences across all the colleges. So again, really taking into consideration the first-year student experience across all fronts. Next comes the formulation of learning objectives. I noticed from previous times of teaching the course that our learning objectives were sometimes confused with the description of learning activities. And so this time around, we really made sure to revamp those learning objectives using a taxonomy like Bloom's to make sure that the skills that students are taking away from our class are really made apparent. And again, making sure that we have that continuous learning outcome and learning, objective alignment from the university level with their intended first-year learning outcomes into our course and into even our course's weekly lesson. So making sure it's consistent across the board. The selection and organization of learning content comes next. So we revamped a lot of the topics that we have students utilizing and understanding through the weeks of this course. Some of them we removed to add new content, like experiential learning opportunity types of lessons, because that's a main thing and key point for Northeastern students. And then we were also very strategic with the timing of these weekly topics to make sure they aligned with the academic calendar. So for instance, students in our GE 1000 seminar will now have the registration lesson a week or two before that time of the year comes, and they are required to meet with their undergraduate academic advisor to make sure their future course plans align. So again, making it really student-centered, making sure that they're prepared with what's to come in their academic year. And one of the other key components of this redesign plan is ensuring accessibility across all of our course modalities. So while we've always traditionally had this course as an in-person type of hybrid approach, now we have a lot of our students that are participating in our global pathway programs and are actually spending their first semester or even year abroad. So we made sure that the remote asynchronous modality was still supported through this revamp, which we'll get into later. The selection and organization of the learning experiences and activities, we're now using a flipped classroom approach to maintain student engagement. And one of the ways that we're especially driving this is not just through our Canvas modules and the redesign of those, but also through the implementation of e-portfolio usage, where students will be responsible for selecting and collecting learning artifacts from each week to add to their undergraduate life design project for the course. And this will ultimately serve as the launching pad for e-portfolio usage across their curriculum, which will come later on more in my action research-based project. And then lastly, for the determination of what to evaluate, we have already had evaluation tools in place for this course, but now with the new revamp, we're ensuring that all of our surveys that we do give out to our students align with those new learning objectives and align with the new approach to this course, especially with the flipped classroom, with the e-portfolio integration, making sure that they're prepared to use it moving forward, all those types of things. And more on how we're going to survey our peer mentors who kind of serve as RTAs for the course, and how we're also going to integrate instructor feedback will come later on in the slides. In terms of personnel and timing, this is a key component for the specifics and logistics of this redesign plan. So for personnel, we have our GE 1000 working group that worked over the summer on this revamp. We have our GE 1000 instructor team broadly. We have our peer mentors, so those upperclassmen students who volunteer to assist in supporting the success of the course. And lastly, our co-op student in our office who really helped to make sure that, all of the new things for our undergraduate life design project through the e-portfolio was all up to speed and ready for the fall. In terms of timing, the curriculum design team, their GE 1000 working group, we worked for about 2 to 3 months in the summer. We met weekly for about a half hour, and we wanted to really make sure that what we were creating was definitely learning centered. And then lastly, the GE 1000 course, in terms of that timing, it's offered in the fall and spring terms, once a week for 65 minutes for our in-person classes. And then in terms of those students who are participating remotely, we wanted to make sure that our remote asynchronous sections of the course abide by the university's policy about semester hour course work time correlation. So in this instance, for a 65-minute per week of instruction, students should be held accountable for 2 to 3 hours of homework. So again, within that remote asynchronous modality. In terms of the specifics and logistics for content and resources, this was a key component. Gibbons' 2014 article notes the importance of considering the curriculum design layers, or the interdependent variables of curriculum when it comes to a redesign. So in this case, we have the Canvas module content, which I have put a screenshot of here just to show you what each week's structure looks like. Students have the overview and objectives first and foremost right at the top, and then they go through more of the content on their own independently. And then they have some learning activities that they also do independently before coming to class. So in this instance, they have to review some case studies about the academic policies, so they're aware of how they can be academically successful. And then when they come into class that coming week, they do the application of the contents. That way they work with other students to make it very collaborative. So in this case, for this week 3 lesson, students will review the case studies by themselves on the module, and then they come to class and they collaborate with their small groups to say, okay, how would we help the student in this particular case study using our knowledge about the academic policies? So really focusing on student engagement with the flipped classroom approach. And then the other key component in terms of content resources is the undergraduate life design project that is going to be done through the ePortfolio. And so Stanford professors Bill Burnett and Dave Evans have developed this concept of designing your life, or students designing their life, which actually derives from the engineering mindset of generating new ideas and approaches to solve real-world problems. So they encourage others to apply the principles of design thinking to their own personal development and career planning. So that's where we're really engaging our students again in that engineering design mindset, but making it student-centered. So at the end of each module, which you'll see here, there's a summary page where students are prompted to think to themselves, what learning artifacts or evidence of my learning from this course, or this particular week, I should say, can I add to my ePortfolio, something that I will take stock of and help me to do that forward thinking, to think of myself as who I want to become? What's going to help me from this course to really develop into the person I want to be? An example of what a summary page looks like can be shown here. And you'll see at the very bottom, we have that ULD, or the Undergraduate Life Design Project checkpoint, where we encourage them to think about different domains of their project and how can we use what I learned from this module to help me to progress in my curriculum, to progress as a student and as a person. Another key resource other than the ePortfolio template, which I will show you later on, is also this matrix that I created. So in considering the learning objectives and revamping those, we wanted to make sure that those learning objectives are also aligned with the different domains of undergraduate life and the first year experience that the university wants students and instructors like ourselves to consider. So on the first column on the left, we have the weekly topics and the weekly learning objectives. I looked at a different document during this construction of the matrix. And then across the top row, we have all of the undergraduate life design domains. So the different domains that are going to be showcased in that ePortfolio. And the X's represent places in the weeks where they can get learning artifacts that align with the weekly learning objectives and also with the domains of their undergraduate life that they will then add reflectively to their ePortfolio. So this matrix will be provided to instructors. That way they can use this as they, kind of scaffold and support students in their overall development in the course and in the development of their final undergraduate life design ePortfolio project. So in terms of the actual deliverable itself, the ePortfolio that we're integrating into the course redesign, this is a student-centered learning process and product. So as you saw and can see from the matrix I showed as well as the timeline below, it helps to make learning for students more visible, but it also serves as that deliverable and that product that they can then take, not just to evaluate their learning from this course, but also as a launching pad for what they can learn in future courses. So the software that is used is Digication, and it is a very common, very user-friendly ePortfolio software that is used at different universities. Actually, I used it myself when I was an undergrad, and it was very successfully used. And the great thing about Digication is that it provides students with user-friendly customization features so students can truly make it their own. You can scan the QR code or click the link that I've embedded here on this slide, so that way you can take a look at the undergraduate life design ePortfolio template that I've created for the course that students will be given and start off with. And what I want to show you also, if you have the time, is if you do a quick Google search and you type in my name and you type in Taylor Cello, first and last name, you'll notice that one of the top 3 links associated with that search is my undergraduate ePortfolio. So why I'm encouraging this right now is because this can show you what this template could end up transforming into after 4 or 5 years of using this deliverable that starts in this course and can be continue to be utilized beyond the first year seminar. So I encourage you to look at this template again that I created for this course, and also to do that quick Google search to see kind of like the before and after of what this ePortfolio can really become if students use it over time. In Within the context of the course, though, week 1 is where they're going to be introduced to the purpose of the e-portfolio in the course and how it will serve as their undergraduate life design project for the course. Weeks 2 through 6, they'll begin that first cycle of learning artifact collection. So again, week by week, they'll be prompted to reflect, stop, and think of what learning artifacts and what takeaways did I get from this course so far within these weekly spans. Week 6, which is kind of the midterm point, is when the undergraduate life design e-portfolio prototype or draft will be due for our students. Just to kind of check in, hold them accountable to see where they're at in terms of learning artifact collection and which domains have they not quite hit yet that they can look forward to fulfilling with the second half of the course. Week 7 through 12, they'll continue to not only do that learning artifact collection, but also apply any feedback they receive from us, from our peer mentors of the course, to apply to their final product. And then week 13 is when the final ULD e-portfolio will be due. The purple arrow is a hope, right? A hope and aim of mine in my Axon research that this e-portfolio usage within the first year seminar is the launching pad for when they can then use it throughout the remainder of their curriculum. So that's kind of what that arrow signifies there, and that is the ultimate aim for my action research moving forward. And lastly, any important curriculum redesign plan needs to also come with an evaluation plan to make sure that it's effective for all of the stakeholders involved. And recent scholarship like Guskey's 2014 article emphasizes the importance of including different stakeholders, not only in that curriculum redesign, but also in the evaluation of that redesign. So that's why we've included not just our first year students that, are directly impacted and go through this learning process of the GE1000 seminar, but we also included our peer mentors or the TAs that essentially help us in the support of the course, as well as our instructors. So the GE1000 first year survey we've always had in place, but this time we're going to be revamping the questions to align with the revamp of the course. So for instance, they're going to be evaluated on their perceptions of the flipped classroom approach. Did they notice a difference in how they engage with the course as a result of that? They're also going to be evaluated on their thoughts on the e-portfolio and the integration of that into the course. Was it effective in helping them to meet the learning objectives? And the peer mentor survey is something brand new that we're implementing because we really want to really get our peer mentors engaged, not just in the success of the course itself, but also in reflecting back on it. Especially because these peer mentors have been through the original GE1000 seminar before the revamp. So really making sure that the survey questions are tailored to them and asking them, based on your previous experience in this course and thinking about your experience in it now that it's been revamped to be more student-centered, what are your thoughts? What are some feedback that we can get from you to make it even better for the next iteration of the redesign and for the next cohort of our students? And then lastly, the focus groups and meetings that we'll have with the actual G1000 instructors. We actually have meetings on a weekly basis following the 1 week of the course to get instructor feedback on how it went, what can be revamped, what can be made better, what can be, better aligned with our learning objectives, for instance. And we also use the second half of that meeting to get ready for the week to come. So those are really kind of like those formative evaluation opportunities throughout the semester. And then at the very end, we plan to do that kind of culminating focus group of instructors to ask themselves, based on the summative e-portfolio project that we had students do and thinking about the new course summatively, how would you evaluate it? What were your thoughts on that? How can we make it even better for the next, cohort to come? And especially thinking about the different modalities. So not just our in-person instructor feedback, but also those who helped to support our students in the remote asynchronous modality as well. So these 3 key evaluation touch points with these 3 different stakeholder groups will be especially critical as we evaluate the effectiveness of this curriculum and course revamp, really. So if you want to learn more about the concepts and curriculum design practices that serve as the foundation for this course redesign plan, I encourage you to check out the references displayed here. So thank you so much for your attention here today to learn about how we're planning to really revamp